Veronica presents the AI Repertory Theatre's production of New World Papers. Book 1, The Historian's Tale, by K.B. Shaw. Chapter 18. Brennan.
After they tied my hands behind my back, I was dragged down the alley, hoisted to my feet, spun around until I was so dizzy I could barely stand, thrown roughly onto the floor of a carriage, and carted off. If I had not lost all sense of direction, I would have been able to plot the route we took on the map in my mind. As it was, I was completely lost. I berated myself for my hubris. I had let the way I was treated by Mrs. Greer and the others go to my head. I thought I was smart and capable, someone deserving of respect and responsibility. But I was just a kid, playing at being an adult. No one would recognize me. What a crock of... Toby or Sean would have fought their way out of the trap in the alley. Then again, Ambrose would never have recognized them. But someone else would have. I'm sure the council had other plants in the crowd who could identify anyone from the movement who was dumb enough to come to look at the estate. Dumb. Dumb. Dumb! The carriage stopped. Two thugs manhandled me, pushing and dragging me along. I could hear water flowing. We ascended stone steps, entered a building, crossed a wide hall, went up more stairs, passed through more doors, and finally stopped. The two men held my arms.
"Unbind him,"
Came a deep voice. The blackness of the bag helped me recognize it. It was the man who had questioned the prisoner McCrae from the shadows, the one who seemed to be in charge. The rope fell. I flexed my hands and massaged my wrists.
"Remove the hood,"
He commanded. I expected to be in a dark room with a beamed lantern shining in my face, but what I saw was the imposing figure of a man silhouetted in front of an expansive window overlooking the Rim Falls. The fount of life soared skyward in the distance. The man stepped forward, and I could see his face and make out the ginger hair streaked with gray at the temples. Angus Brennan. He was dressed all in black formal wear, pants, shirt, long open front jacket. The only flashes of color were red satin gloves and shoes.
"You don't believe in the fount or the below, do you, boy?"
Can't say that I do.
"And why is that?"
The code tells me that fictions are lies.
Indeed it does.
Angus Brennan walked up to me, bent close to my ear and whispered,
"Missy Howard told us about your talents, boy, and how the old woman was going to use you."
He stepped back and gauged my reaction. She'd never.
"She'd never. You are a naive boy."
The Chancellor looked to the dark man on my right and tilted his head in a silent command. The dark man exited through a door somewhere behind me. Brennan turned his back to me.
"I can make anyone tell me anything I want to hear,
He said as he moved to the window.
even if it isn't the truth."
Did Vernon McCrae tell you what you wanted to hear? He spun on his heels.
What do you know of the blasphemer McCrae?
You came to the Mount in the middle of the night to question him. You were the man in the dark. You had him killed.
Who would believe the word of a one-name screel like you without proof?
I have proof. There was someone else on the great room balcony that night. He'll corroborate my story.
Who? That weasel Ambrose? Don't you think I extracted that information from him while I convinced him to watch the crowd at the old woman's estate? I am surprised he didn't tell me you were there, spying on me at the Mount, too.
He didn't see me. Brennan turned again and looked out over the rushing water.
No matter. Poor Ambrose just had an accident, slipped and fell into the river. His broken body was swept over the falls.
The doors behind me opened. The Chancellor turned, came forward a few steps, then waved for the person to come to him. I tried to turn to see who had entered, but the dark man punched me in the kidney and I dropped to my knees. I heard the click of boot heels on the stone floor, and as the person passed, a whimper. I straightened up enough to see a dark man leading a woman to Brennan. She was barefoot, had a black bag over her head, and wore a thin white robe, its back crisscrossed with dried blood. Her head hung low and her shoulders slumped. "Jenna!" I cried. She straightened.
Fallon.
She began to turn toward the sound of my voice, but the dark man pulled a stick from his belt and struck her on the back, cracking open old wounds. Fresh blood stained the robe and Jenna cried out in pain. "Jenna!" My guard kneed me in the back. She stood facing Brennan, who glared down at me.
Do you doubt that she told me everything, boy?
He tore the robe from her body, ripping away matted scabs of blood. Jenna screamed. The blood flowed freely. I shot to my feet. The guard slammed his stick into my stomach. The padding of my overcoat softened the blow, but both dark men were on me. They stripped me of my coat, which fell to the floor at my feet, and began to beat me with their clubs. I felt at least one rib crack before they concentrated their blows to my kidneys. Then one of the men cracked me on the side of the head. My vision dimmed as I crumpled to the floor. I managed to cry, "Jenna!" before spewing vomit and blood. A dark man pinned me down in a crouching position with his knee, while the other grabbed my hair and forced me to look up at Brennan. Jenna was facing me. The Chancellor was now holding her to him with his left hand clutching her right breast. He raised his right hand and removed the bag from Jenna's head. The image of McCrae's face flashed in my mind. Brennan's hand disappeared inside his coat, then reappeared holding a thin-bladed knife, which he pressed against Jenna's throat. Why? Why all this killing? Because you want to protect some insane story about cons and the Fount of Life. Because you don't want the people to know the truth about New World. About Earth?
Earth?
Yes, that's where we came from.
Where would you get information like that?
He pressed the blade harder against her neck. You said Jenna told you everything. His eyes widened and he withdrew the knife.
You made the descent?
Yes.
Tell me what you saw.
I tapped my head. You know my talents. I can draw it all for you. I looked him in the eye and said, "That's why I wasn't in the house when you had it burned. I was to contact others in the movement and draw copies of what I saw. I barely made it out before the snows fell. I can tell you everything. I'll give you the names of my contacts in Primacida. I can be very useful to you. Just let Jenna go."
You'll be useful to me if you want to stay alive. This is what will happen to you when you stop being useful.
He raised the blade to Jenna's throat and slit it from one side to the other. Blood sprayed everywhere, even hitting me in the face. My screams stuck in my throat. My mind raced with the images of blood and violence I had seen while learning about Earth, but nothing had prepared me for the horrors of such a cruel, senseless act. I grabbed my chest with one hand, as if in pain, while I groped for my coat with the other hand. I felt like I was moving through mud, but my actions were too quick for the dark men to react. With the taste of Jenna's blood in my mouth, I pulled the pistol from the coat and the magazine from my shirt pocket, shoved it in, cocked the gun, and shot the dark man to my left in the thigh. He was so close I couldn't have missed. Then I fell flat to the floor, rolled, and shot wildly at the second henchman, striking him in the shoulder. I continued to roll, got to my knees, and shot blindly at the Chancellor twice. 2 panes of glass shattered behind him. Several things happened at once. Brennan started to run away. I staggered to my feet. The rear doors burst open, and a dozen or more household staff rushed in. "Stop right there!" I shouted to Brennan as I shot another round into the window to make my point. "I don't want to kill you." "Good. Drop the knife. Now kick it away." Several of the servants started to advance on me. "Stay where you are or I'll kill the Chancellor." When I was satisfied they weren't going to rush me, I said, "I came to make an offer to the council. I can only do that through you."
I can't do that.
I walked up to him and pressed the pistol to the side of his head. "And why is that?"
Because there hasn't been a council for many cycles.
I positioned the barrel on the bridge of his nose. "Explain."
Chancellor is a title handed down through the Brennans for generations.
"Louder," I said. "I think everyone should hear this." I took a step back from Brennan, lowering my aim to his chest. "What was that about the council not existing?" Brennan turned to face the servants.
My family has served New World for many generations.
Then he raised an arm and pointed at me.
This man is a solarist who means to destroy our world. He attacked my men and is threatening to kill me.
"Only after you had me beaten and Jenna killed. Poor, sweet, defenseless Jenna."
Seize him!
Brennan commanded. No one moved.
Seize him, I say.
A white-haired man in servant's livery stepped forward.
Those of us chosen to serve here at the council hall are never allowed to leave. We cannot leave because during every high conjunction, we see the basin and the fount for what they really are. We cannot leave because we serve the council members when they are here and know who they are. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Now understand this. We haven't served a counselor in several cycles. We only serve an ever-growing number of the Chancellor's black coats and green jackets. I, for one, want to hear what the Chancellor has to say.
I lowered the gun. Whatever game you're playing is over, Brennan. There's an old Earth saying, The truth shall set you free. I've struggled with this statement because truth sometimes serves no good purpose, but this is a truth that needs to be told. I raised the pistol again. Set yourself free, Brennan. The clatter of running men drifted through the broken window.
Theodore, see what's happening.
Said the elder servant to a younger man. Theodore ran to the window and looked down.
Green jackets! On the terrace! Coming this way!
The elder came close to me, put his hand on my outstretched arm, and gently pushed it down.
You have friends among us. Your story must not end here, not on this day. Theodore, take this man. Try to get him safely away from here.
As he crossed the room to retrieve the knife on the floor, he gave orders.
Everyone, get behind the Chancellor. Maggie, shove that dust rag into his mouth.
The old man placed himself directly behind the Chancellor, pressing the knife blade against Brennan's ribs.
Get going now,
He said calmly.
We'll delay the green jackets as long as we can. And then I'll stick this miscreant like a pig.
I tucked the pistol in my waistband, reclaimed my coat, and put it on. I picked up Jenna's bloodied robe and limped to where she lay. Dead eyes stared out the window toward the fount of life from a nearly severed head. I gagged, then knelt and covered her battered, naked body. Theodore pulled me to my feet, saying,
This way!
We ran through several adjoining rooms, Theodore closing doors behind us, locking those that could be locked. With every step, my body was racked with pain and I struggled to stay conscious. In a dining hall, he deftly pressed on a section of woodwork, opening a servant's passage. I ducked in. Theodore followed, again securing the panel. He led me through a maze of passages until we came out in the kitchen. It was empty.
Stay here,
He said before heading down a hall and out of sight. He was gone only a moment before he poked his head back into the kitchen and waved for me to follow him.
quickly! The rest of the staff has gone out to the receiving area to see what's going on. This may be your only chance. In there!
He directed me to the back of an empty delivery wagon as its two confused delivery men looked on. I climbed up, crawled under the tarp, and snaked my way between the cargo of empty crates and barrels. I heard Theodore leave, calling from a distance.
All of you, back inside. Don't let the green jackets see you.
His voice drew nearer as he said,
Bertie, you should leave now. It may be your only chance before the green jackets close off the island. Hurry! Hurry!
The wagon jostled as the delivery men climbed onto the seat and, with a lurch, whipped their horses into a gallop. I knew that these were guild teamsters. However, I didn't know if they would head south to the guild section of Primacida with their wagon full of empty containers or go north to unload. I had no control over my immediate situation, so I hunkered down and tried to rest. Every bump was utter agony, every corner torture. It was going to be a long, painful ride. An hour later, the wagon stopped. By the way the light hit the tarp, I reckoned it was nearly high noon. I could hear the sounds of people, the clopping of horses, and the rattle of wagon wheels. Perhaps the men had stopped for lunch. I slithered to the back of the wagon to sneak a look and try to figure out where I was. Just as I was about to lift the tarp for a peek, it was thrown back.
Bloody bee!
Yelped one of the delivery men, tall, stout, and mustachioed.
What are we supposed to do with him?
Bloody bee indeed,
Said the second man, who was bigger than the first. Please don't, I started to say. Then I blacked out. I was disoriented when I came to. I was looking at the ceiling of a large room. At first, I thought I was back in the quarters,
He's awake.
said a woman somewhere to my left. A ring of people formed around me, a mix of male and female workers, including the two delivery men. Where am I?
You're in a warehouse on Water Street.
Said the mustachioed man. How long have I been out?
More than 3 days.
Said a woman, short and matronly with kind eyes.
someone tried to kill the Chancellor.
Said the other delivery man.
Did you have anything to do with that?
Tried?
Stabbed, they say.
It was the mustachioed man again. Brennan still alive? The mustachioed man nodded and asked.
Was it you that stabbed him?
No, I said, suddenly remembering the gun. I reached for my waistband. It was gone. I could only imagine what would happen if the pistol fell into the wrong hands.
I think he's looking for this, Bertie.
Said the larger delivery man. He held the pistol out for me to see. Careful with that. It's a... I cut myself off.
It's a what?
Asked Bertie. A very dangerous thing. Please, I beg you to put it down.
Put it down, Johnny.
Said Bertie to his partner.
Let's hear what the bloke has to say for himself. What's your story, lad?
The truth shall set you free. I asked for help sitting up, and then I began to tell them my version of the truth. For, as the captain told Addie, Joe, and me, The truth is shaped by the historians. What you are reading now is the complete truth as I know it. What I told them then was the truth I needed them to believe. I introduced myself and told them about my talents, the death of McCrae, my being sold, the raising of the Greer Manor, my abduction by the Darkmen, the encounter with Angus Brennan, Jenna's murder, and Brennan's admission that there was no longer a council. I left out any mention of my trek through the basin, my descent into the below, or being trapped the quarters.
The dirty, rotten screel,
Said Bertie.
All you just told us is real.
Asked Julia, the woman who had been taking care of me. I assure you that it is. If you can get me paper and pencils, I'll show you what I saw and write down what I've just told you. Then I need to be getting back.
To where?
Trust me, it's safer if you don't know. The next day and a half, I drifted in and out of consciousness, still coughing up blood. I couldn't hold down any food, not even broth. I spent all my lucid periods producing 3 handwritten, hand-drawn copies of what became known as the historian's tale. It included renderings of the bodies of Vernon McCrae and Jenna Howard that brought the tough warehouse workers and delivery men to tears. They took the first copy, delivered the second to Franklin the barrister, and I kept the last. Guildsmen and franchisers worked together to reproduce the papers, first by hand, then in print. Other talented artists faithfully reproduced the images of the slain heroes, a word I learned from the captain, and a word that swept through New World like wildfire. I don't know if the decision was mine to make, and maybe it was made in the heat of hurt and anger, but I had sown the seeds of discontent, and there was no turning back. Even though I wasn't healed and was still in agony, it was time for me to return to the quarters. 2 hours before the rise of Saul Minor, Johnny and Bertie transported me to the bridge over Little Silver that was closest to the promenade. I rode under the tarp. When they arrived at the bridge, they paused, rapped twice on the wagon bed, gave me a few seconds to climb down, and then trotted off without a backward glance. I descended the riverbank and worked my way downriver as quickly as possible. The snow was almost gone, so I had no fear of leaving a trail. The farther I went, the sharper the pains in my side became. I began to feel lightheaded. Twice I stumbled on the river rocks, falling once. My rib cage ached and my left arm tingled, yet I pressed on. Our plan called for the twins to be at the bridge every day at the rise of Sol Major and wait 2 hours for my return. A brilliant red Sol rise shone through the pines as I neared the rim. Sol Major would rise within the half hour. I climbed up the bank so I wouldn't miss the well-concealed entrance to the small cave. Once the leaves of spring sprouted, the opening would be virtually undetectable. I scrambled through the brush, slithered through the small tunnel, and descended the tube, careful to mind the broken rung. The tube seemed to spin, forcing me to clutch a rung and hang on tight until my vision cleared. I was heading home. Home. Why did I think of the quarters as home? My heart ached for Aiden. I felt ashamed to admit it, but for a second, as I watched the blood spurt from Jenna's throat, I was thankful it wasn't Addie. My con tore at the thought. No matter what I did, I seemed to betray someone. My deep affection for Jenna betrayed Addie, and my love for Addie betrayed Jenna. Home. For me, it meant being with Addie and my friends, the only family I'd ever known. I continued my descent. Even as I turned the locking wheel, I heard a metallic noise that could only be the extension of the bridge. Within a minute, Sean was grinning at me through the open hatch. The grin was wiped from his face as soon as I stepped into the light. "Do I look all that bad, brother?" I said.
Aye, and even worse. You need some help?
Haven't looked at myself in the mirror lately. Suddenly, everything got blurry. I felt dizzy. I began to fall, then felt myself being caught and laid to the ground. Muffled shouts. I was on my back, being dragged across the bridge. The world faded to black. When I awoke, I was lying down, gazing at the gallery roof. It was moving fast toward my feet. How could the gallery roof be moving? I lifted my head and saw a welcome sight. Toby.
Hang in there, little brother.
He tried to smile, but I could tell he was concerned.
We're almost back to the aviary.
Home, I slurred. I was beyond pain. I couldn't feel my body.
Yes, brother. Home.
I was laid on the floor. I heard a hatch open. Then I was picked up again and lifted through and saw the high ceiling of the aviary. Sean was shouting,
Call the missus. Tell her Fallon's back. He's hurt bad.
I drifted off. My hand felt wet, and I saw a blurry mass of red resting on it. Someone was crying. The blur came into focus. It was Addie.
I love you.
She raised her head, squeezed my hand, and smiled.
Grandmother! Grandmother!
I drifted off,
How are you feeling, Fallon?
asked Mrs. Greer, putting her hand on my forehead. I felt like a little boy again. Missy Howard comforting me after a beating from Dean Ambrose. I hurt from my head to the very depths of my con. Tears welled up in my eyes. Jenna is dead.
End of chapter 19. Next up, the conclusion of The Historian's Tale, Book 1 of New World Papers.